All right, today we are diving into something truly wild. A new paper called For Real that tackles one of the holy grails of AI. We're not just talking about generating a picture or even a 3D model. We're talking about creating an entire explorable 4D world just from a few words of text. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. What if you could just type a tranquil river flowing through a forest at sunset, and out pops a fully interactive world? A world where you can actually move around, where you can see the water rippling, the leaves swaying in the breeze, the light literally changing over time. We're not just talking about making a cool video here. This is about generating a little slice of reality on demand. Okay, so before we go any further, let's get on the same page. What exactly is 4D? It's actually super simple. You know 3D, right? Height, width, depth. Well, 4D just adds one more thing to the mix: time. So think of it as a 3D world that isn't frozen. It moves, it changes, it's alive, it's dynamic. Now, this all sounds absolutely amazing, right? But there's a catch, a huge one actually. For years, researchers have been banging their heads against the wall trying to solve one thing: making these generated worlds look real. Not just kind of real, but truly, indistinguishably photorealistic. And let me tell you, that is a monumental task. So to really get why this is so hard, you have to see the massive gap between what we've had and what we're aiming for. See, the old way of doing things, it was all about single objects, like generating a 3D model of a chair just floating in an empty space. And because they were trained on fake, synthetic 3D data, they just looked, well, fake. They couldn't do complex scenes, the lighting was off, the motion felt robotic. The ultimate goal, the dream, is the total opposite: a full, complex scene that looks just like a real video, capturing all that messy, beautiful, chaotic motion of the real world. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The researchers behind For Real say it themselves right in the paper. They pinpointed the exact problem. Everything was built on these single-object synthetic 3D models. That was the bottleneck. It basically poisoned the well from the start, biasing everything to look artificial and completely missing that complex dance between, an object and its actual environment. So how do you fix a problem that's so fundamental? Well, the For Real team had a pretty radical idea. They said, okay, what if we've been coming at this from the wrong direction entirely? Instead of starting with flawed, fake-looking 3D models, what if we started with the most realistic, dynamic data that exists? Real. Or at least real-looking video. And this right here is the absolute game changer. The core idea is to just flip the whole process on its head. Forget trying to build a photorealistic 3D world from scratch with clunky tools. Instead, you start with a powerful text-to-video AI and generate a short, super realistic reference video. You begin with something that already looks real, and then you kind of work backwards from there to build out the 4D structure. It's honestly a genius move. Okay, so how does this magic trick actually work? Let's break down the pipeline. Step 1, you feed it a text prompt. The system uses a video model to crank out a short, realistic clip. That's your reference. Now, here comes the really cool part. Step 2, it creates what they call a freeze time video. And the best way to think about this is that bullet time effect from the Matrix, for real. It grabs one single frame, one instant from that video, and then creates a new video where the camera just circles around that frozen moment. It's wild. From there, in step 3, it uses that freeze time video to build a solid, static 3D model of the scene. And finally, step 4, it takes the motion from the original reference video and slaps it back onto that 3D scene, bringing the whole thing to life. All right, that's the theory, and it sounds fantastic on paper. But you know how it is. The proof is in the pudding. So let's look at the results and see if this thing can actually walk the walk. So yeah, this is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Is this whole video-first thing just a neat party trick, or does it actually deliver a massive jump in quality? To find out, the researchers threw everything they had at it. They got real people to judge it, and they ran it through all the automated tests. And the results? It wasn't even close. It was an absolute landslide. They put it head-to-head against another top method called 4DFi, and people overwhelmingly chose For Real. I mean, look at these numbers. More than 76% of people said the motion was more realistic. Another 76% said the photorealism was better. It was just a total knockout, a clear win on every single front. And it's not just what people thought. The hard data tells the exact same story. When they ran it through an automated scoring system, For Real just dominated. Visual quality, a massive jump. How well it actually matched the text prompt you gave it, way better. And maybe most importantly, temporal consistency. Making sure the movement is smooth and doesn't look all glitchy over time was way, way superior.
Okay, so at this point, you're probably thinking, sure, it's better, but it must take forever to run, right? Well, this is where it gets kind of insane. For Real can generate an entire 4D scene in just an hour and a half on one GPU. The competition, we're talking over 10 hours. That's not just a little bit faster, that's a gigantic leap in efficiency that makes this tech actually, practical.
So let's zoom out for a second. This is so much more than just a cool academic paper. A leap forward like this has some really profound implications for, well, pretty much everything. How we're going to create and even interact with digital stuff in the very near future. I mean, think about what this technology actually unlocks. We're talking about generating entire dynamic worlds for VR and video games, literally on the fly. Or creating mind-blowing special effects for movies without needing a bajillion-dollar render farm. This is the stuff you need to build the foundational blocks for a real, immersive metaverse. And maybe one of the biggest things, building ultra-realistic simulations to train things like self-driving cars and robots in worlds that look and feel exactly like the real one.
And all of this brings us to a final, pretty mind-bending thought. A breakthrough like For Real is a massive step towards a future where that line between what's real and what's generated just melts away. I mean, when we can literally speak any reality we can imagine into existence and then go explore it, it really makes you wonder, what is the word real even going to mean anymore?